Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to see if we can make good of a bad repair on this fuel tank. Okay, here's the fuel tank out of the bug. It looks largely original, to be honest. Not a lot wrong with the top of it. The problem lies is underneath. And it's this. So I've seen a huge amount of repairs on the underside of fuel tanks, everything from patches to welds. But this is the first time I've actually seen somebody nut and bolt holes. Well, I assume they're holes. I assume that there's, you know, a rust hole and somebody's just put a nut and bolt, but how have they done that? Why have they done that? Let's get this tank stripped down. Let's really see what's happening here. Whilst we're on the subject of fuel tanks, something really cool about this fuel sender here, you'll notice that there aren't any wires. As the fuel float goes up and down, it moves this little arm in the middle there, which pulls a cable, which moves the needle on the dashboard. Genius. Although these mechanical gauges are relatively reliable, they'll actually show the amount of fuel in the car all the time, which is great, but it's also great for people trying to steal fuel. So it is pretty difficult to see, but just down there you can see the tops of two screw heads. I have no idea how they've even managed to get them in there. So that's the bolts removed. There's two perfectly drilled holes there. Must be where there was a couple of little areas where it was leaking. And then maybe they decided to drill them and nut and bolt them. So I will attempt to try and weld these up with the gasless MIG welder. But in the past, it is a bit hit and miss trying to MIG weld holes in the bottom of fuel tanks. But let's give it a go, you never know. I'm going to give it a jet wash. Let's see what we're left with. Okay, that's the fuel tank all cleaned up now. If the repair is successful, I probably will use some of the tank cleaning solution with a sealer. But for the time being, let's see how we get on with that repair. Okay, so that's the holes there plugged up. Let's put some water in it, see if it leaks. Well, unfortunately, what I've just done there is weeping water a little bit, but that's not the real problem. There is another problem around here. There is actually a hole here, and there's another one just here. Well, it's bad news, I'm afraid. All that time spent trying to repair this tank is wasted. So on this area here, what started out to be a few little holes here and there, I've actually been chasing it around with my welder, just plugging the holes in and grinding them back, only to find that it's just blowing holes. The material here is so thin, and I suspect the whole bottom of the tank here is very thin and rusty, so it's pretty fruitless continuing. And even here where this fuel outlet is, the more I weld, the more holes that are actually appearing, even starting to find holes further on down here. So this area here on the inside is totally rotten. The material's too thin. I really don't feel happy putting fuel in this, even if I do manage to repair all the holes. So before I started welding the tank, it's going through my mind that I should really be brazing it or lead filling it or something along those lines, not MIG welding it. But it's irrelevant now, as the bottom of the tank is rotten. So when restoring cars, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Unfortunately, this needs a new tank or a good second-hand one. So after spending ages chasing my tail trying to weld that fuel tank, I feel like I actually haven't achieved anything today. So I'm going to go ahead, mark out the area of rust on this quarter panel, and let's cut it out. So that's the area of rust cut out on the side there. You can see inside it's relatively clean. It hasn't gone all the way through. Thanks for joining me again today. See you next time. Cheers!